Streaming is something we all do. From streaming YouTube videos to Netflix, we do it on a daily basis. Some have even ventured to the forth in streaming their own personal content, i.e. gaming, music, anime, cosplay, whatever it may be, on popular sites as Twitch and YouTube. But what do you need to do to stream? You need a beefy computer with an i7 8-core processor with 32 gigs RAM, or, would a nice i3 dual-core with 2.0 gigahertz processor do? Well, I'm going to answer your questions and more, and what is streaming in the sense, and help you get your basics down for your bare minimum system requirements and what settings you should stream at. Today on Tech Text Tips. Try saying that 3 times fast. like the intro? Yeah, okay. Anyways, so I thought I'd just do a quick little lesson on streaming itself. What is streaming? Streaming for us is taking your video and audio inputs from your computer, transcoding them, and putting them into an acceptable format that Twitch and YouTube accept. Now, this process of encoding is what takes up majority of your CPU power, and what most people find have trouble streaming in the first place because they don't have their settings right. So now that you know a little bit like how that's like the bare minimum how streaming works, it gets a little more complicated than that. But for the sake of the video, that's what I'll probably make another video on that later. Now, what would you physically need in order to have a decent streaming computer? Well, the first thing you need is you got to understand that streaming is a CPU intensive process. So a better CPU, the better stream quality you're going to get. Internet is also a factor in, but we'll talk about that later. But it's not just the CPU. You need decently good RAM and you need decently good GPU. And I'll explain all of that here in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the CPU. Now, the CPU is your brain and what powerhouses through the encoding process. So if you want a decently high-end stream quality, you're going to need I would recommend an i5, no lower than an i5, with at least 3 gigahertz processor quad-core, preferably hyper-threading, but not required. I'm going to use Intel references because that's what I'm comfortable with. AMD, just use a quick, I'll probably put a link in the description for like the equivalents, okay? In order to get a decent stream, you need at least a quad core. You can do this with a dual core, than like say an i3, but your quality is going to greatly subtract from your stream. So basically, if you just want to stream no matter what the quality, yes, you can do it with an i3. I wouldn't recommend it. The quality is going to look really bad. But to get a halfway decent, like the medium, I usually like to prefer the i5 4690K. That is a great CPU for gaming and streaming, for low-end streaming. What about GPU? Well, GPU is also depending on what kind of games you want to play. Now, the GPU isn't as important for streaming if you're not doing a gaming channel. Say you're just doing music and you're just going to do, art and stuff like that. Nothing that requires a GPU-intensive program. You can skip out on the GPU a little bit. But the GPU does help because it will draw away from the CPU processing power for the graphics. It's like the graphics will help, but not necessarily. But if you're a gaming streamer, you're going to need a decently good GPU. I would recommend the 960 and the 970 if you want to do entry level, but I mean, you can go all the way up to like the Titan X or the 980 Ti. It's really up to your preferences. And that's why we use the word a lot. It's your preferences. And what preferences do you want to be? So when you're a streamer, you need to ask yourself 2 things. 1, do I want to be a high-end streamer? And 2, am I doing this for fun? The reason I'm asking the second one is because if you're not doing this for fun, you're just doing it to get money, you should just quit right now. No streamer I've met that's done this actively to get money has gotten anywhere with their stream. I stream personally because I enjoy it. I have fun. I like make people laugh. So I stream because I like make people laugh. I like giving back to the community. It's little things like that. I never imagined that I'd actually get money from it. So never expect it. Never even think about it. If you're doing it for the money, you don't need to be doing it. It's simple as that. So when you're picking out your CPU, you want to meet these bare minimum requirements. Is it a quad core? is it above 2.5 gigahertz processor? And does it have hyperthreading? And again, AMD, I will put a link in the description for the equivalents, okay? If you answered yes to all three, it's probably a good CPU. As for RAM, you want to find yourself something with a high clock speed, preferably, and a good chunk of amount in the first place. So I would recommend anywhere from 8 to 32 gigs of RAM, at least 1600 clocking speed. If you're using the new DDR4, any DDR4 work as long as you have a minimum 8. Now, the RAM won't necessarily make your stream better, but it will help with managing several programs open at once, like having your window browser open, your game open, like everything else. So the more RAM, the better. I would recommend no less than 8 gigs though, but a comfortable 16 would be nice. And I always recommend, if you're gonna, when you're building a computer, you want to go intervals of 2. So like if you're gonna buy RAM, buy 2 4 gigs or 2 8 gigs or two 16 gigs. But always going by a 2. Don't go like an 8 gig and a 4 gig or 16 gig and a 4 gig. It doesn't mesh well with the computer. There's some videos around for more in-depth, but basically you just want to utilize the dual channel that most motherboards nowadays have. Or you can even do a quad channel if you want to go like 4 gigs for the 16 gig slots and so on and so forth. But basically, you just gotta make sure it's high, it's fast, and it fits your motherboard. That's basically, there's not too much on that. Always recommend just minimum 8 gigs, a minimum 1600 clock speed, and you'll be good. Sick. Okay, so we covered GPU, we covered CPU, and we covered RAM. Everything else is to your preference. I always recommend an SSD. SSD is just really nice for your operating system and overall performance. But this isn't a computer build like tutorial. It's how to get stream preferences. So as long as you got the 3 I've mentioned before in the video, you are set physically at least to stream. And we're going to go ahead and move on to your preferences. Now that we're going on to preferences, we have to figure out 2 things. 1, what program are you going to use to stream with a multiple of? And 2, what kind of preferences you should use. To figure out number 1, simply do a simple Google search for streaming program, and basically 2 things will pop up: XSplit or OBS, or Open Broadcasting Software. I personally use Open Broadcasting Software. It's a great free product. It does everything I need to do. It gives me plenty of options. But if you use XSplit, there's some tutorials online, but I'm going to cover how to use OBS. It's the best thing out there. I personally think. That's just my opinion. It's not a statement. It's not a fact. Don't kill me in the comments. Just a simple program that I think is the best to use. I'm going to show you how to use it right now. Okay, so here's OBS in its all its glory. And there's a bunch of things in the bottom I'll explain here in a minute. Before we do any of that, I want to get your settings down. I'm actually moving my arms and stuff, and you guys can't even see me. So I don't know why I'm doing that. So when you first open OBS, the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and set up OBS. So you're going to go to the top right here, and then you're going to click Settings and Settings again. And this is going to open up. Now, the first general page is nothing new. You don't need to worry about anything. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Broadcast Settings. Now, I know this is a lot, but bear with me, and I'll try to explain as we go. Mode is live stream. Mode is what kind of want to use OBS as: live stream or file output. Live stream allows you to stream to like Twitch and YouTube. The other mode allows you to simply put like recording desktop files. So like right now I have another OBS running. It's on file output only, and it's just recording. But we're gonna stick with the live stream for the sake of the tutorial. Streaming service is pretty straightforward. Select the streaming service you wish to stream to in the beginning. They have a nice updated little list, including Twitch, Good Game, Cyber Game TV, all these. But I'm going to stick to Twitch because it seems the most popular one, and that also seems to be the most easiest one to work with. Oh, look, everything went crazy. That's okay. Next, you're going to pick your URL. This is basically like where you're going to bounce your stream to. So depending on where you're going to pick the closest place you got. Whatever city's closest to you, just pick that one. So I'm going to go ahead and do Chicago. Since I'm in Lansing, Michigan, I'm going to do Chicago. That's the closest one. There's also a program that allows you to test the ping to each one. You basically want to look with the lowest ping and the lowest ping to the server and use that server. I'll include the link in the description. You can download it. It's free. It shows you all the pings. You just choose the best one. Now, play path and stream key you will find in your Twitch profile, and I'll show you that in a little bit, but I don't want to show it. So for the sake of the video, this is where you put your stream key. If you don't know where that is, just go to Twitch and go to Google and type how to find stream key. You'll find it. Auto reconnect is really good because in case you get disconnected for whatever reason, it'll just auto reconnect. It's pretty straightforward. Timing, you don't worry about the delay. Well, the delay is cool. If you're playing, like, say, League of Legends, and you want to put a delay so you're not getting, like, sniped, stream sniped, just put a delay on your stream, and so they can't, like, see you put that ward there a minute ago and the stream's only a second behind. So that's only good if you're afraid of getting stream sniped. Other than that, I don't mess with it. Minimize network impact. Now, this is always good. Even if you have fast internet, it's just good to have. It lowers the impact it has on your internet. It draws the bare minimums what it needs required from the settings you put. It doesn't suck up extra. It's just a nice setting to have, especially if you experience some form of lag. Check mark this, and you'll be fine. You can actually save every stream you have to a file. Like, it will also, as it's streaming, it will save to your desktop. This is a cool feature to have if you want to do like YouTube replays or stuff like that, because Twitch sometimes will mute your audio. So I actually have this check marked in my other OBS. This one's clean, so I don't have it on there. Once you're done with that, you want to choose. Once you're done with that, you want to choose where you want to save your physical file. Just browse and where you want to put it. The replay and the replay buffering path, don't mess with. You won't ever use it, to my knowledge, especially if you're streaming. It's just there for other reasons that do not regard to this video. So once you have all that in there, you're going to go ahead and go to encoding. No, I don't want to save that. Now, this is where people get I stress a lot of mistakes wrong, because this is where it impacts your quality, this impacts your internet, and this impacts the overall look of your stream. For Twitch, you have to use CBR, so it should be automatically checked. You want to stick with the X264 encoding. If you do have NVIDIA and NVIC, then I would suggest to use that. But if all else running you're not comfortable, just stick with the N264 encoding and you'll be fine. Bitrate. Now, this one right here is where a lot of people get this. Bitrate is literally the quality you're going to stream at, and it depends on two things. One, your hardware, if your hardware can handle that much bitrate, and two, your internet. Now, I haven't talked about internet yet for this very reason. When you're streaming, you need certain internet to stream at certain qualities. You can actually stream at a 5 megabit connection with one up, but it's going to be at like 360p. But you can stream. It will work. Like, the internet should allow you. I would recommend for any decent streamer that you would have a minimum 15 down, 5 up. Minimum to get a good 720p quality. Now, what I'm talking about, and I'll have, you can see right here that you have the bitrate, and this is the bitrate for YouTube and the bitrate for Twitch. It's just go off this chart. I'll include a link in the description to both the sites. Just choose what you want to stream it and what your computer handle at. I personally run at 720p, so I usually stick around 1700 bitrate. The reason I run at 720p is because I am not partnered with Twitch, since I use Twitch primarily, and I want more access to more computers. So if I stream at 1080p, some people might not be able to watch that because the internet's too slow, or even the device might be too slow. So if you're not partnered with Twitch, I would strongly recommend to not go above 720p. Even like the low end 720p is what I would recommend. So if you're streaming for the first time, just stick with 720p. 15 to 1700 is usually the best sweet spot. If you have slower internet, go lower. But if you have a decent internet and a decent hardware, 17 is usually a sweet spot unless you're partnered, in which case you should already know that you can go higher. You wouldn't be watching this video. For audio, it's pretty simple. You want to do AAC with 48 kilohertz, 160-bit rate because Twitch doesn't support anything higher, and stereo. That's it. Audio doesn't really affect much, but this is what you got to use. We're going to go ahead and go to video. Now, this is what your stream's going to produce. If you want to run a 720p, but you have a 1080p monitor, you want to go ahead and use the downscale resolution to the 720p. And then you can choose a filter. If you have a fast processor, go with the best sampling. If you have a slow processor, go to the fast sampling. Again, it depends on your hardware. Also, Twitch does not, to my knowledge, support 60 frames per second, but YouTube does. Now, keep in mind that YouTube... Oh, I forgot to mention this. No. Keep in mind that YouTube is a little different. You can actually do the 1080p stream on YouTube because they do not require you to be partnered to change the video on it. So if you're streaming to YouTube, by all means, put it up to 1080p on YouTube, 1080p at 60 frames per second. You'll be golden. The viewer can simply just change it themselves. For resolution, if you have a 1080p screen display, if you want to use 1080, go ahead. It will still stream at 720p. But if you're lacking the CPU power you wish you had, and you just want to get a little bit more out of your game, downgrade it, and you'll be good. Audio is pretty simple. You're going to select your default audio for your desktop, and a microphone, you're going to select what microphone you want to use. You don't have to really mess with any of this because it won't, unless you find your audience saying you're too quiet, up the microphone boost. If you find that your game music's too quiet, up a little bit. You got to play around with it until you find the sweet spot for your stream. But in general, you won't have to mess with this too much. If you go to advanced, everything's already, you shouldn't have to touch anything except for two things. One, you're going to change your keyframe intervals to 2, and you're going to change your encoding to main. That's the only two things you're going to change on this, and then you're done. And there you have it. That is your settings for streaming. I know it seems a lot, but feel free to go back to the video. It's very easy to do. And the only thing left is to set up an actual scene. And to do this, you're going to go ahead and click right click, add scene. I'm going to name it YouTube video. You have a blank source. Once you have a blank source, you go ahead and right click, add. You can add a window capture, which captures all the windows inside. You can add a monitor capture, which captures the entire monitor, including your taskbar, including all your other stuff. You can do images, slideshow, whatever you may be, text for audio, for music, which I'll include in another video. It also does game capture. I do not recommend the game capture. I have a lot of problems with it personally. If you're going to stream games, I would just stick with window or monitor capture. It less of a headache and a lot easier on your CPU. Also, they have the video capture device, so you can go ahead and click, and I'll go ahead and test this, show you this real quick. Right here, I'm going to go video capture, and it allows me to capture my camera. Now, the only thing I would suggest when you're using this, the only option you need to change is click full range. This is basically allows a better picture, and in my opinion, it's not necessary, it's just how it is. Some devices do not have, okay. You don't really have to mess it unless you want to change something, i.e. you want to change vertically, you want to change the resolution. This is all up to you. I dropped my cup. This is all up to you, and again, it is preferences, but bare minimum, like, it should be set as you go. You go ahead and press OK. Once you have that, you can go ahead and click Preview Stream. And you can see me. Once you have your stream up, oh god, you can see you watch me for a minute. Once you have your stream up and you want to preview, you want to go ahead and change it a little bit. Oop. I don't think my computer likes that too much. But you're going to go to, when you have it in there, you want to take you want to make it smaller. You're going to click Preview, Edit Scene, and this little stuff will, here, let's see if I can do an image. Pictures. Use my Battlefront. Let me turn that off. See, there we go. You can go Edit Scene. You can go ahead and do this. And there we go. Oop. I do not have the picture selected. Make sure you have the right item selected. See? And then you can just move it around where you want. Just like that. There we go. Bam. Way big, way small, whatever you want to do. So that's your basic stream tutorial. Everything you need to know is in this video. You just reviewed it a few times. I know this is my first video doing something like this, and I appreciate everyone watching if you did watch. If you have any questions, just comment below and I'll answer them to my best ability. I'm sorry this is rough, but I really wanted to do this. I had a lot of people ask me, and there's a lot of friends of mine that want to stream, so I'm making this video for them. If you get good information from it, then fantastic. Feel free to ask me, message me, whatever you need to do, and I'll answer all your questions the best ability. Thanks for watching Tech Tips. See, I can't even say it. Thanks for watching Tech Tips, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Yeah, that was Markiplier. Ugh, what am I thinking? Bye!